In this video, we're going to continue studying population ecology. We're going to be looking at population growth. The next topic we're going to investigate is population growth. Populations can grow quickly over time for a while, but not forever. Population growth also has to do with population size. Population size is influenced by birth and death rates, as well as immigration, or the influx of new individuals from other areas, and emigration, which is the movement of individuals out of a population. Here's an example of a population of sparrows. Each year there are a certain number of babies born into our population. We also see that some birds immigrate into our population. On the flip side, there are some sparrows that die each year either due to natural causes, predation, or other problems. And there are also birds that emigrate out of our population and move to other areas. All of these factors will contribute to the overall population size and the population growth rate. The population growth rate equals the number of births in the population minus the number of deaths in the population each year. Generally, immigration and emigration are so small that we kind of neglect or ignore those two factors. We can also say that the assumption is that immigration equals emigration, so that overall change would be zero. Population growth rates lead us to two major growth trends. We can look at the exponential model and the logistical model of growth. Exponential growth occurs when individuals produce more offspring than is necessary to replace itself and its mate. Generally, this can occur for a time, and populations will increase rapidly, creating a J-like shape to the population growth chart. Here's an example of exponential growth. We see that the population starts low, and it raises very rapidly in a J-shaped curve. Exponential growth, though, cannot be supported for long periods of time. Generally, there are resource limitations that keep the population from increasing forever. There are times when we see exponential growth in nature, at least for a short period. One example is rebounding populations. This elephant population in South Africa grew exponentially after hunting was banned in that area. Introduced species, or invasive species, will also increase exponentially, at least for a time. A good example of this was rabbits when they were introduced into a new population. They bred rapidly and their population skyrocketed at an exponential rate. As we mentioned before, exponential growth cannot continue forever. This leads us to our second model of growth, the logistic growth model. Logistic growth describes population growth that is gradually reduced as the population nears the environment's carrying capacity. The carrying capacity is the number of organisms that the environment can support long term. We see here that in the logistic growth model, the carrying capacity, abbreviated as K, is where the population levels off and is no longer increasing. There are many factors in the environment that can limit population growth. This includes resource availability, such as food, water, shelter, space, mates. Even natural disasters can limit populations. So storms, floods, fires, all of these can stop populations from growing and decrease them slowly over time or rapidly. Some of these factors are density dependent, meaning that the more individuals there are, the bigger the effect of that limiting factor. Other factors are density independent, and it does not matter how many individuals there are in the population, all individuals present will be affected by that factor. All limiting factors affect a population's growth. This is also playing into population density. The more dense a population tells us that there are more resources available and that the carrying capacity is higher in that environment. Density-dependent factors include things like food supply, habitat for living and breeding, parasites and diseases, and predation risk. Again, all of these are affected by how many organisms there are in the population or how dense the population is. As the population becomes more dense, food becomes more scarce, space is limited, the risk of parasites and disease goes up because you're in close contact with your neighbors and can easily spread these things, and predation risk goes up because it's easier for a predator to catch a prey item if they are densely packed together. Density-independent forces or factors are ones that strike populations without regard of the size of the population. Generally, these are weather-based or human-inflicted disasters. Things such as fires, storms, floods, or humans destroying a habitat can all be density-independent factors. Density-independent factors limit population size by drastically decreasing the population very rapidly. This then allows the population to recover over time. Some of these independent factors actually occur on a regular basis. So certain ecosystems have a flood or fire at fairly regular intervals, which again limits the population overall and prevents them from overtaking the other resources in the area. We also see that certain populations cycle between large and small population size. Sometimes these oscillations are caused by interactions with other groups. A classic example is predator-prey interactions between snowshoe hares and lynx. We will explore these interactions in another video. In summary, we see that population growth is affected overall by birth and death rates as well as immigration and emigration. There are two major growth models, the exponential and logistic growth models, that we can use to help us study populations. Until next time.